dreaming of hitting the trails and tearing up the dirt, but your bank account is practically begging you to just stay on the couch? Today we are hunting down the absolute best cheap dirt bikes on the market that actually deliver thrilling off-road action without completely draining your wallet. 7. X Pro 250cc. I honestly didn't know what to expect from a bike delivered to my doorstep in a crate. Getting it out of the box and putting it together was a project in itself, and I quickly realized that you absolutely must go over every single nut and bolt with heavy-duty thread locker before even thinking about adding fuel. The initial appeal is undeniably the price tag, which makes a full-size 250cc dirt bike accessible to almost anyone with a weekend job. Out on the open fire raids, the Zongshin engine actually pulls surprisingly well, offering a decent amount of low-end grunt that makes casual trail riding somewhat enjoyable for a complete beginner. However, the moment you transition from smooth dirt roads to technical rocky trails, the harsh reality of its ultra-budget price tag rears its ugly head. The suspension on this bike is incredibly unforgiving, feeling more like a pair of rigid pogo sticks than actual hydraulic damping, bouncing me aggressively off every square-edged bump and route I hit. I found my arms suffering from severe pump within the first 20 minutes of aggressive riding, largely because the shocks simply cannot keep up with high-speed impacts. The build quality also leaves a lot to be desired, as the plastics feel brittle and the stock chain stretched noticeably after just one afternoon of riding. The gearbox is notoriously clunky, often requiring a very deliberate and forceful kick to find the next gear, and false neutrals were a frustratingly common occurrence during my testing. Another significant drawback is the overall weight and balance of the motorcycle, which feels remarkably top-heavy compared to the Japanese bikes on this list. 6. Suzuki DR-Z125L. The Suzuki brings a legacy of bulletproof reliability, but my time on it revealed that it is seriously showing its age. Firing up the DR-Z is an exercise in nostalgia. It purrs with that classic, quiet four-stroke hum, and the engine feels like it could survive a nuclear apocalypse without skipping a beat. For a younger rider or a smaller adult looking for a pit bike, the smooth and incredibly predictable power delivery makes it virtually impossible to whiskey throttle and loop out. But taking this bike out on a modern trail system quickly highlights some absolutely glaring technological deficiencies that are hard to ignore in this day and age. The most frustrating element by far is the braking system. Suzuki is still outfitting this bike with a drum brake in the rear and a very weak disc setup up front. When I was carrying any sort of momentum down a steep rutted hill, squeezing the brake levers felt more like a polite suggestion to slow down rather than an actual command. Furthermore, the ergonomics are noticeably cramped, and the suspension travel is incredibly limited for anyone who pushes past a brisk walking pace. Hitting small jumps or dropping off minor ledges resulted in a harsh metal-on-metal clank as the front forks bottomed out effortlessly under my weight. Starting the bike also relies entirely on a kickstarter, which, while normally fine for a 125cc four-stroke, feels like a massive oversight when nearly every competitor offers electric start. Stalling on the side of a steep off-camber hill and having to balance while kicking the bike back to life is a hassle that simply shouldn't exist anymore. 5. Yamaha TT-R230. The Yamaha is the quintessential trail tractor, and throwing my leg over this machine instantly reminded me why it has been a staple in the off-road community for decades. Unlike the Suzuki, Yamaha blessed the TT-R230 with a magic button, and the convenience of electric start when you are exhausted at the bottom of a ravine cannot be overstated. The air-cooled 223cc engine doesn't produce arm-ripping horsepower, but it delivers an incredibly linear and torquey power band that chugs up steep inclines with zero drama. Riding this bike through dense, technical woods is a genuinely pleasant experience because the low seat height allows you to easily put a foot down when things get sketchy. It feels like a mountain goat, finding traction in muddy, root-infested single track where higher-revving, more aggressive bikes would simply spin their rear wheels and dig a trench. The suspension on the TT-R230 is incredibly plush, soaking up babyhead rocks and braking bumps with a soft, Cadillac-like ride that saves your lower back on all-day trail rides. However, that softness means it is strictly a trail bike. The moment I tried to take it on a motocross track or hit a tabletop, the suspension blew through its stroke instantly. Maintenance on this machine is practically non-existent, requiring little more than basic oil changes and air filter cleanings to keep it running flawlessly season after season. It features a robust steel frame that, while adding some extra weight, makes the bike incredibly durable when it inevitably gets dropped on rocks or slammed into trees. Ultimately, the Yamaha TT-R230 earns its spot right in the middle of our list because it is the ultimate stress-free off-road companion for the casual enthusiast. 4. Kawasaki KLX230R. The Kawasaki feels like stepping into the modern era of recreational trail riding, and the immediate difference is the beautiful implementation of fuel injection. Gone are the days of messing with chokes, cleaning gummed-up carburetors, or worrying about elevation changes ruining your air-fuel mixture. A quick press of the starter button, and the KLX springs to life, idling perfectly whether I was riding in the humid lowlands or climbing up into the crisp mountain air. The power delivery from the 233cc engine is delightfully peppy, offering a notably sharper throttle response compared to the carbureted Yamaha TT-R230. Coming out of tight corners, a quick twist of the wrist provides immediate, predictable acceleration that makes lofting the front wheel over logs surprisingly effortless. Kawasaki also did a fantastic job with the chassis, utilizing a perimeter frame that makes the bike feel much narrower between the knees and significantly more nimble. Throwing the KLX230R side to side through tight winding trees felt intuitive, and the full-size 21-inch front and 18-inch rear wheels rolled over deep ruts and obstacles beautifully. The suspension, while still aimed at recreational riders, holds up incredibly well to aggressive trail riding and offers nearly 10 inches of travel to keep things smooth. I pushed this bike quite hard on a fast, whooped-out sand trail, and it maintained its composure beautifully, keeping the rear wheel planted and tracking straight without any terrifying kicks. The KLX230R represents the absolute sweet spot for riders who want modern technology, supreme reliability, and enough performance to keep things exciting without spending a fortune. It is a massive leap forward in the budget trail bike category, offering a premium feel and hassle-free ownership that is worth every single penny. 3. Yamaha YZ125X. The Yamaha, the crisp snap of the two-stroke exhaust and the smell of premix instantly let me know that we were entering serious performance territory. This bike is essentially a cross-country racing weapon that has been tuned specifically for the woods, taking the legendary YZ125 motocross platform and making it trail-friendly. It is unbelievably lightweight, and the moment I hit the dirt, the bike felt like an absolute feather beneath me, reacting to my body English with laser-like precision. Yamaha completely revised the power valve timing and the CDI ignition to give this two-stroke a surprising amount of bottom-end lugging ability. I was shocked by how well I could tractor this 125cc machine up steep, technical climbs without the engine falling flat on its face or demanding constant clutch abuse. When the trail opens up, however, the YZ125X absolutely screams, delivering a top-end rush that stretches your arms and gets your adrenaline pumping like nothing else. The transition from the smooth bottom end into the explosive mid-range is seamless, making it an absolute joy to ride aggressively through sweeping corners and fast straightaways. The absolute highlight of this machine, however, is the KYB speed-sensitive suspension, which is widely regarded as some of the best stock suspension on the planet. Hitting nasty, square-edged rocks and deep braking bumps at speed felt like riding on a cloud, with the suspension absorbing the absolute worst impacts while keeping the chassis perfectly balanced. If you are a slightly more experienced rider looking for a cheap way to go incredibly fast in the woods, the Yamaha YZ125X is an unbeatable value. It offers true race-ready performance, incredibly low maintenance costs for top-end rebuilds, and a fun factor that simply cannot be quantified. 2. Yamaha YZ250. Holding onto the handlebars of this machine is an exercise in respecting true, unadulterated horsepower, as it is one of the most explosive and thrilling rides you can buy. Twisting the throttle on the YZ250 requires a delicate touch, because the moment that power band hits, the front tire aggressively claws for the sky, and the bike launches forward like a rocket. Despite its aggressive nature, the beauty of the YZ250 lies in how brilliantly it has been refined over the last 2 decades, resulting in a perfectly balanced aluminum chassis. Carving deep ruts on a motocross track or navigating high-speed desert trails feels completely natural, as the bike goes exactly where you point it, without hesitation. The true reason this bike ranks so incredibly high on a list of cheap dirt bikes is the phenomenally low cost of ownership and maintenance. When the time eventually comes for an engine rebuild, replacing a two-stroke top end requires a fraction of the parts, time, and money compared to rebuilding a modern four-stroke. Furthermore, because Yamaha has kept this platform largely unchanged for so many years, the used market is flooded with affordable bikes and an endless ocean of cheap aftermarket parts. You can buy a highly capable, ridiculously fast YZ250 for practically nothing on the used market. Bolt on a few fresh plastics and have a machine that can still win local races. The Yamaha YZ250 represents the ultimate blend of terrifyingly good performance and blue-collar affordability. It is a brutally fast, highly dependable machine that will keep your maintenance bills incredibly low while providing more horsepower than most riders will ever truly need. 1. Kawasaki KX250. Taking the absolute #1 spot on our list is the phenomenal Kawasaki KX250, a motorcycle that completely redefines the concept of high-end performance on a realistic budget. The moment I took this four-stroke beast onto the track, I was absolutely blown away by how closely it mimics the feel of a multi-million-dollar factory racing machine. Kawasaki has engineered an engine that revs to the absolute moon, offering a top-end pull that continues to build power long after other bikes in its class have completely signed off. The dual-injector fuel system ensures that the throttle response is impossibly crisp, giving you immediate, hard-hitting power out of corners that makes clearing massive jumps feel effortless. It has an aggressive, throaty exhaust note that barks with absolute authority, letting everyone around you know that this bike means serious business. Handling is where the KX250 truly outshines the competition, featuring a remarkably slim chassis that makes gripping the bike with your knees feel incredibly natural. The front-end traction is simply confidence-inspiring, allowing me to dive into inside ruts with immense speed, knowing the bike would carve through the turn like it was on rails. Kawasaki also nailed the ergonomics, offering an industry-leading level of adjustability with multiple handlebar and foot peg mounting positions to accommodate riders of absolutely any size. The suspension is incredibly plush, yet holds up perfectly to massive overjump landings, providing a level of damping control that usually requires expensive aftermarket tuning. While it is a high-performance 250cc four-stroke, its aggressive pricing new, combined with its massive popularity driving down used market prices, makes it the ultimate value in the dirt bike world.